Coming up on Mountain News this morning, more details continue to pour out from the deadly church shooting in Michigan. And conversations continue between Kentucky lawmakers focusing on proposed changes regarding hemp.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday to you, Mountain family. I'm Amelia Lee here with you on this September 30th. It's just about 5 o'clock this morning and time for a check of our weather with meteorologist Megan Dusmall. And Megan, it is our last day of September, which is kind of sad.
I know. It feels like this month flew by us and we're almost to October, which means only a couple more months left until 2026. Insane. But here's what you need to know as you're heading out the door this morning. It's not too bad as you start off your day, mainly looking at a mixture of the upper 50s and low 60s, with the exception of Monticello and Somerset and Prestonsburg, 64 degrees, a little bit warmer than the rest of the region. Forecast highs for today, though, you'll notice a bit of a temperature range as we see low to mid 80s for our Kentucky counties and upper 70s and low 80s for our Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia counties. In terms of rain chances, we're clear right now, but we are looking at a slight chance for some scattered showers as we're heading into those afternoon hours. This will primarily be for our Virginia counties. But here's what we're looking over the course of the next several hours. We'll see those temperatures warming up, and it's going to be a partly cloudy day. And again, looking at those slight chances for showers this afternoon. Amelia.
2 men are behind bars after police in Louisville say they stole copper wiring while they were on I-65. Police say Daniel Bentley and Robert Kelly were seen stripping copper wire on I-65 at the Gene Snyder Freeway during the weekend. They were arrested and appeared before a judge yesterday morning. Both pleaded not guilty and issued bonds of $2,500 and $5,000. They're not allowed to go to any Kentucky transportation buildings or speak to their staff. In Laurel County, a man has entered a guilty plea in a federal case after he threatened Commonwealth's attorney Jackie Steele. According to the plea agreement, Christopher Rhodes sent an email to Steele citing that he should fear for the safety of his family. The email was sent in May and was based around Rhodes' anger with Steele regarding his services as the Commonwealth attorney. Final sentencing for Rhodes is set for January 27th of next year. Well, we are learning more about a deadly church shooting and fire in Michigan. That shooting happened Sunday at a church in the Grand Blanc area, about 65 miles northwest of Detroit. At least 4 people have died from that incident after a former Marine opened fire during a crowded service. At least 8 others were also injured.
As a state, we know the pain of this too well. We've seen gun violence in our schools, stores, parades, festivals, and our houses of worship. These are places that we go to feel connected, to feel safe, to be together. But today, this place has been shattered by bullets and broken glass. And this might be a familiar pain, but it hurts all the same.
Police identified the suspect, who also died, as 40-year-old Marine veteran Thomas Jacob Sanford. Well, State Senator Brandon Smith of Hazard is fighting lawsuits relating to a Bitcoin mining operation. The Lexington Herald Leader reports that Smith and his company Mohawk Energy are defendants in 2 lawsuits. It's related to the company's property purchase and use of expensive cryptocurrency mining machines. Smith is being accused of inflating the value of former coal cleanup company. In a countersuit, Smith is seeking damages from the accuser for allegedly undermining the company. Smith denies all allegations of wrongdoing. 4 Kentucky lawmakers are leading an effort to push back against proposed restrictions on hemp products. The letter was signed by 27 members of Congress, opposing Senator Mitch McConnell's efforts to revise the restrictions around the sale of THC products derived from hemp. Kentucky lawmakers James Comer, Morgan McGarvey, Andy Barr, and Thomas Massey are leading the charge, wanting to redefine what's considered legal hemp. McConnell says the change would close a loophole that has allowed unregulated hemp products to be sold nationwide. McConnell says he's continuing to meet with both sides of this issue. Well, the Senate is set to vote again today on a House government funding bill in a last-ditch effort to avoid a government shutdown at midnight. Talks have stalled despite President Donald Trump and top White House officials meeting with congressional leaders yesterday at the White House. Democrats are demanding health care protections are included in the deal, but Republicans say time's up. CBS's Tina Kraus has more from New York.
The federal government could run out of funding in less than 24 hours unless Congress cuts a deal.
I think we're headed to a shutdown because the Democrats won't do the right thing.
A White House meeting yesterday between President Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, and leaders from both parties ended with lots of finger pointing and no breakthrough on an agreement.
It's in the president's hands whether to avoid a shutdown or not. He has to convince the Republican leaders.
The Republican-led House passed a short-term bill to keep the government funded at current levels through November. But congressional Democrats have put up a counteroffer to keep things running through the end of October. They also want to permanently extend Affordable Care Act subsidies, set to expire at the end of the year, and reverse funding cuts to Medicaid. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries on CNN last night.
This is not simply a negotiating tactic. This relates to the well-being and the health of the American people.
President Trump and Republicans say the Democrats' demands are unreasonable.
They're going to have to do some things because their ideas are not very good ones. They're very bad for our country.
If there is a shutdown, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid payments will continue, though national parks and museums will close. Tina Kraus, CBS News, New York.
TSA warns that Americans could expect long lines at airports if the government does shut down. The U.S. Travel Association says the industry could also lose $1 billion a week due to possible disruptions at airports and railways. Well, the U.S. Department of Education is preparing for a possible government shutdown. Yesterday, Education Department officials announced its contingency plan if lawmakers fail to pass a spending bill by today. It says nearly 1,500 of its 1,700 employees would be furloughed. Some essential employees would stay on to keep loans and grants moving. The agency, however, would stop issuing new grants and reviewing civil rights complaints. With Gaza still under fire from Israeli bombs, President Trump announced an end to the war could be closer than ever. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he supports Trump's 20-point peace proposal. If Hamas also backs the plan, the war will immediately end. All hostages will be returned within 72 hours of Israel publicly accepting the deal, and Israeli forces will start withdrawing in stages.
This is the closest we've ever come to real peace, not fake peace, not political fool's peace. I have a feeling that we're going to have a positive answer. But if not, as you know, Bibi, you'd have our full backing to do what you would have to do.
Another potential sticking point, the proposal calls for Hamas to disarm, something it's never agreed to do. Next week marks 2 years since the October 7th attacks. Kentucky has secured nearly $18 million to build electric vehicle charging stations. Governor Andy Beshear filed a lawsuit last month challenging the Trump administration's decision to freeze funding for the program. It was after Kentucky was originally guaranteed $32 million for the proposal. However, the incoming funds will still help build 46 charging sites throughout the Commonwealth. Well, thanks so much for getting your day started with us on Mountain News this morning at 5:08. Artificial intelligence is on the rise, in some cases spinning fake sob stories to get your money.
And temperatures are not changing by much this week.